Today, we are going to take a nostalgic look back at the year 1980. What was the world like? But before we start, if you enjoy rolling back the winds of time, take a minute to subscribe. Thank you. Now, let's get started. What were the popular TV shows? What movie was everyone talking about? What did people imagine the future looking like? What kind of cars were popular? And what were some of the trends among teens? And what were the top most popular rock bands with teens? Let's take a look. The top TV show for teens in 1980 was a new show that premiered in 1979. There was also a show called Space Academy, which followed the same time period. The two shows weren't connected, but they did share the same time period, and were both science fiction adventure shows. The second most popular TV show in 1980 was the classic sitcom Mork and Mindy, and it dealt with a lot of the same issues that teenagers deal with today, just in a different way. In third place was the game show Lingo. Lingo was hosted by actor and comedian Art Fleming. And honestly, I thought it was sorta stupid and hated when it came on. The show was based on a language game by philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. In the show, contestants would be asked a series of questions, and they would have to answer them in as few words as possible. If they could do this, they would win money, and possibly a car. But if they couldn't, then they would lose and go home with nothing. The fourth most popular show with teens in 1980 was the Saturday morning cartoon, Scooby-Doo. This classic cartoon has been around since the late 60s, and it was still going strong in the 80s. And the fifth most popular show with teens in 1980 was the sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter. Welcome Back, Kotter was about a group of students at a New York high school, and the teachers who tried to help them navigate through adolescence. The show was created by James Burrows, and the cast included John Travolta, Suzanne Summers, Tony Danza, and John Laughlin. John Travolta played Vinnie Barbarino, a student who was trying to make it in life despite coming from a poor family. Suzanne Summers played Chrissy Snow, a ditzy but lovable blonde who always seemed to land on her feet. Tony Danza played Tony Michelli, a former boxer who was now a gym teacher. John Laughlin played Mr. Kotter. The class was known as the Sweat Hogs. Alright, let's move on to movies. What movies were popular in 1980? Well, the most popular movie in 1980 was a little film you may have heard of called The Empire Strikes Back. Yes, this Star Wars sequel was a huge hit. It earned more than $500 million in the United States and Canada and more than $1 billion worldwide. The film also received critical acclaim and is generally considered to be one of the best films ever made. Some critics have even ranked it above the original Star Wars film. So if you want to feel old, just remember that this came out 40 years ago. The second most popular film of 1980 was the comedy film Airplane 2. The sequel. Yes, believe it or not, there was a sequel to the classic comedy film Airplane. But does anyone remember this movie? I mean, I know it was a big hit when it first came out, but I don't think it's held up that well over time. Do you? No. 3 was the action film The Hunter. The film starred Arnold Schwarzenegger as a hired killer who goes to Africa to hunt down a rogue elephant that had killed several villagers. But he soon finds himself hunted by the elephant, as well as by a rival mercenary. The film was a big hit and grossed over $28 million worldwide. At number 4 was the comedy film The Blues Brothers. The film is about two brothers who get together a band in order to raise money to save their childhood home. The film features an all-star cast, including John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Cab Calloway, and Ray Charles. The film was a critical and commercial success, grossing over $63 million worldwide. And finally, at number 5 was the drama film Ordinary People. The film is about a teenager who survives a boating accident but suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. The film was a critical darling and won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture of the Year. Now let's talk about music. What were the top 5 most popular rock bands with teens in 1980? Well, the top band in 1980 was, of course, the British band Queen. Their 1979 album, The Game, had been a massive success, and their music videos for singles like Another One Bites the Dust and Crazy Little Thing Called Love were in heavy rotation on MTV. Freddie Mercury was the charismatic frontman, and the band's music was a perfect mix of hard rock and pop sensibility. Number 2 was the American rock band REO Speedwagon. They had a string of hits in the late 70s and early 80s, including Keep On Loving You, Time for Me to Fly, and Don't Let Him Go. Their music was featured on many popular films and TV shows. Third most popular band in 1980 was the Canadian rock band Loverboy. They had a string of hits in 1981, including Working for the Weekend, Turn It Up, and The Best Is Yet to Come. Number 4 was the American rock band Foreigner. They had a string of hits in the late 70s and early 80s, including Cold as Ice, Hot as Hell, Double Vision, and Urgent. Finally, the fifth most popular band with teens in 1980 was the British band The Police. The band had a string of hits in the late 70s and early 80s, including Roxanne, Message in a Bottle, and Every Breath You Take. Now let's talk about teen trends in 1980. What was popular with teenagers in 1980? Well, one popular trend among teens in 1980 was breakdancing. Breakdancing was a style of street dancing that originated in the 70s, and it was characterized by acrobatic moves, quick footwork, and intricate hand movements. Breakdancing became very popular in the 80s, and it was often seen as a competitive activity, with crews going head-to-head in dance battles. Another popular trend among teens in 1980 was roller skating. Roller skating was a fun activity that could be done indoors or outdoors, and it was very popular with teens. Many roller skating rinks were built in the 80s to accommodate the growing popularity of the activity. The third popular trend with teens in 1980 was arcade games. Arcade games were a fun way to spend time with friends, and they were very popular with teens. The most popular arcade game in 1980 was Pac-Man, and other popular games included Space Invaders, Donkey Kong, and Galaga. Now let's talk about fashion. What kind of clothes were popular with teens in 1980? Well, the most popular clothing item for boys in 1980 was the members-only jacket. The jacket was a stylish leather bomber jacket that was worn by celebrities such as Tom Cruise in the film Risky Business. It was very popular with teens, and it was often seen as a symbol of wealth and status. For girls, the most popular clothing item in 1980 was the leg warmer. Leg warmers were a type of knit covering that was worn on the lower legs, and they were often paired with leggings and leotards. They were very popular with dancers, and they quickly became a fashion statement. Other popular fashion items for girls included acid wash jeans, off-the-shoulder tops, and neon colors. Now let's talk about cars. What were the most popular cars in 1980? Well, the most popular car in 1980 was the Ford Escort. The Escort was a compact car that was fuel-efficient and affordable. It was very popular with young people, and it was often seen as a symbol of independence and freedom. The second most popular car in 1980 was the Chevrolet Camaro. The Camaro was a muscle car that was powerful and stylish. It was very popular with young men, and it was often seen as a symbol of masculinity and speed. And finally, the third most popular car in 1980 was the Volkswagen Rabbit. The Rabbit was a small car that was fuel-efficient and affordable. It was very popular with young people, and it was often seen as a symbol of individuality and quirkiness. So that was a look back at the year 1980. What do you remember about that year? Were you alive back then? What was your favorite TV show, movie, or band? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that the first personal computer was introduced in 1980? It was called the Altair microcomputer, and it sold for $3,500. At the time, this was an expensive hobby. But little did everyone know that this was just the beginning. Computers would soon become commonplace in homes and offices around the world. Now we'd like to hear from you. What do you think? How has technology changed your life? Let us know in the comments below. We look forward to reading your thoughts. Thank you for watching. And remember, the wife said, I can get hair transplants if I reach 100,000 subscribers.